So constructor function, right? See, we just have seen the built-in constructor like math. We have seen for object, we have seen for array. So all the data type, string, right? Even for number, you see that math, object, array, string. Yeah, so these are the few things, and these are built-in, already built-in, right? Even you're gonna find, I believe, date function also right there. Okay, so how are we gonna create something for our own, right? So if I want to create, let's say, object for maybe employee, let's call it, right? So I have to call the function, same function like this, right? And give a name with capital E, capital letter, starting capital, employee, right? Okay, so employee can have first name, let's call it first name, last name, maybe is, right? Something like that. Because this is a constructor function we are designing, right? We are writing the blueprint to create a lot of employee. Okay, you don't want to go and create employee const. The problem is, let's say employee 1, right, equal to the name, maybe Dave, and last name maybe whatever, right? And then so I'm not creating the object properly, right? So I have to do what? Let's say first name Dave. That's how we create object. Last name will be here. Let's give the same like above, right? Not last name, not L name. You can give any name. I mean, the property can be anything. You just write, right? And the age, something like that, right? Okay. So if you have 100 employee, you're gonna create one by one like this, right? And then you're gonna do employee 2, employee 3, employee 4, employee 5, 6, like that, right? So this is not good. Okay, maybe for example you have a website, right? And website has a field, form field. Okay, their employee can just go and put their first name, last name, and age and submit, right? When you submit, you're gonna have a function called constructor like this. It will create this object automatically. You don't have to do manually. Okay, so how we gonna create function, constructor function, right? So, and let's see how it work is. Now you're gonna have, let's give the first name equal to, so basically, I mean, what we can do, right? Let's first understand one thing. See, the constructor function, when you have function like this, right, it return this. Just understand, right? This keyword. Okay, this is nothing but an object, right? So this is nothing but a empty object here. Okay, how I can prove this? Because this is always, you're gonna need this all the time, right? So the system, the designer said, okay, I mean, something we're gonna need always, why not make it like inside hidden, right? You don't have to type it. Okay, it's there. You just understand there is something called this object. I'm just showing you this, right, to make you understand, but this is something built inside here. How I can prove this? Let's delete this, right? And I will say const emp1, right, equal to new, call the employee like this. Okay, and console.log, right, emp1. So the point is, when you have constructor function, you have to use new keyword to generate the object. Okay, so now you have 10 employee. We're just gonna do 2 Really like that, right? Okay, so you're gonna get new employee, but let's console log employee 1 and see what we get back, right? Let's see. Even I don't remember what we get, but we get this constructor. We just get this function, right? This employee function. That means we're calling that object, right? That object, let's call it constructor function. Okay, so what I will do now, you just understand, right, that this referring to the object created by this one, right? Just understand that for now. But let's do one thing, because I said there is something called this equal to something like that is there, right? And you are returning that object called this. Okay, you are returning this object, and these two things happen automatically. So if I have this object, right, so I can do this dot first name equal to first name, right? I can do that. This dot last name equal to last name, L name, right? And this dot age equal to age. I can do this. Okay, now I will take this out, right? And pass here something called dev, because I have 3 parameters: first name, last name, and age, right? Maybe 45. So I will just comment this out, and now run this code and see what we get, right? So we get that employee constructor, and it referring to that object, right? See, we just create one object. So now it does not matter, right? You can create hundreds of objects like this, and you can store in one of the array, right? You can even store in the array. So I mean, when you're writing code like form, fill out the form, first name, last name, age, submit. This object you can store in, let's say you have an array right here, or maybe in the database. You know, you can just go back here and you just call it employee info dot push, you know, this emp1. You can do that. You can store it here. So every time you fill out the form, you're going to create these things automatically, because in the code you have written form data, you know, like get user like first name by id, maybe first name, id, get like data, what is that, get value by first name or last name, you know, value, right? You can get from the field. If you have HTML form, right, you can read that in the DOM and then get that value and then add here. So we will check that during the form, right? Or maybe when we start DOM, we're going to look at that. But for now, just understand this is how you generate the object. Simple. Now, if you have many, right? This is manually, I'm doing manually, but things will be happen. This is a blueprint, you know, this is a blueprint, right? You can create any objects now. So John, like that, right? So if you console log now employee 2, so you have 2 objects. So you just created 2 objects from this blueprint. Okay, so see this employee now, right? This is a constructor function, and you can create the, either you can do, even here you can do function, right? Like this dot, let's call it full name equal to, I'll just call a function, right? Like this, and console.log this dot first name plus, add some space here, plus this dot last name, L name, right? L name. So maybe thinking, Dev, how are you getting this thing? Remember I told you, you have here object called this equal to empty object. You know, system will give you automatically, and that this is returning from here. Return this automatic. Okay, that's happen automatic, right? Soon you add when you generate the object, right? When you create an object using the new keyword, first thing system will do is add this object and return this. That two things happen automatic. So that's why you have access to that object. So you, in that object is empty first, you're going to create first name, last name is, you can access that right from the object, this, that first name, last name, you can do that also. Okay. So if I go back here, right, and I say employee1 dot, now see, I can call that full name, you know, I can call that function, right? So remember, string dot to uppercase, string dot to lowercase, you know. So that's how the functions are created. You know, there is the constructor functions. Inside that, all the functionality we are using, somebody has created for us, right, to use. So I hope this makes sense now, right? So every time when you do something dot, so just imagine, okay, there is a constructor function and it has that property built inside, like this, like full name, right? And you can access that. So let's run this. And we have, okay, so something went wrong. Because this is a function, right? Full name is a function. I have to execute that, okay? If I just call that, I'm getting the whole function, right? I must execute that. So see if they're seeing that is the full name, John Welker, you see that, right? You're getting all that. And undefined, because my function is not returning anything, so it will just return undefined, right? But you get the point, you know, how the constructor function works. You know, same function, right? This function, you know, sometimes you saw the prototype, right? So you can add in prototype. You don't have to do here, you know, you can from this employee, right? Employee dot prototype dot, in the prototype, now you can create full name, right, equal to, and then you write that function here. Okay. And then you just console log, right? Same thing what we have done before, you know. So this dot, you have that first name, you have access to all that, okay, in the prototype also. So prototype is what? Prototype is another property, right? When you create a constructor function, you have this prototype attached to that constructor function automatically. System will give you, okay, I will give you one extra prototype object. Inside that object, you can add all your functionality, right? So that any child or any object you can create can access this function. So I'll show you now. Just now, give me a second. This dot last name. So now it will be still same, right? Let's save this and run the code. So you have access to the same thing. Now look at here. You know, when you have this constructor function, you are getting one prototype object, right? Object, and in that object you can store all the functions, okay, methods, or you can store in there, so that any objects you can generate, right, using this constructor function, you have access to that function. The problem with adding here, you know, every object will create copy of that function, but if you store it in the prototype, all new object can share, it just share the same function, okay? It does not make copy, right? So that means it saves a lot of memory. That's the reason for adding in the prototype, right? It's like common for all our new objects. So, you know, before we look at, right, something in the prototype is common for all the new objects. So if I have a string here, right, to uppercase, so this is common, right? You know, like all the objects can use that. Means all string can use that, okay? So now it's clear, everyone, how, you know, like, so let's go back here, right? Where is the object, guys? Oh, I have to open that. I don't know if I'm still in the JavaScript. uh, the first thing is, right, how you access the object. Okay, the information from the object, right? So now you have much more better idea than before. It will be easy. Let's look at now. Here I'm just going to create one file. It's very small, right? Let me expand this. Okay. So I'll just copy this. There are few things you have to remember. Okay, I mean, you know, this is object, right? We have title, year, genre, string. You can store any value here. Title is what here? String, right? You can store number, you can store array. Okay, this is array. The point is, this object is stored in a variable called movie. We know, right? In variable we can store any data, even object also. Okay, and you know how to create object, right? So this is manually we have created object. Now how you gonna access this property? Always remember variable name dot. I am saying variable, right? But this is object name, because this object is stored in the variable. So to get this value, basically object, right? Object, you are doing object dot something. When you call movie, right? Movie dot year. That means basically you are calling this object. It should be like this, right? You are actually calling this object dot something. So if I have name here, right, equal to dev. So if you call object dot name, right, name, that is what you are doing, you know. So let's give the name, because name is the something reserved inside, right? So exactly this is what you are doing. Okay, so what is saying? Expected error or something, I don't know what is that error. So you know, if you put this in the console, let's do the console log. So okay, here is the mistake. Okay, object will be like this, right? That's how you create object. So this is what is stored in a variable before. So you're gonna call variable name like okay, let's run this code and see. See that dev, you read the dev, right? So when you call the variable, remember one thing, when you call the variable name, right, always look at the value it is holding. So in this case we are holding object. Now you in your mind, right, it's this object should be running, okay, not the movie. Object dot year. Okay, that means year is one of the property in the object. If you find one of the property, you can get that value, right? So this is the value in that property. This value can be anything, you know, any value, any data, right? Even function. Remember we put the function there before. So all right, so that's how it works, right? For example, let's say you have title here, right? The next way is square bracket title, right? So guys, just give me a second. Okay, I have to pause, right? Okay, let's continue. Sorry about that. Okay, so where I am, right? So I mean, this is the second way, right? You can access the value of the object, right? Square bracket and then the string. You have to pass it in form of string, right? If you do the dot, that means you're gonna do this way also. I mean, you can pass as a string, right? So now it's clear. But if this is one of the object, right? Sorry, one of the property, movie.gener. Look at here, movie.gener, right? You're gonna get array. So the value here is array, like this array. So now you think, okay, if that is the array, right? So if I do square bracket array square bracket 0 index, you know what we do before, right? Remember array square bracket 0, right? To get the first item, if you make it array 1, second item, the same thing, okay, same thing. You just look at the value, right? This array is a value. The array value square bracket 0 or 1, you're gonna get the element from here, right? Good. So, you know, you have to just pay attention, right? And okay, so now I understand, right? I mean, to access any object property, this is the simple way you can do it. Why we use this one, right? Because sometimes you're gonna get a variable, you know, like here, if you look at now, I don't see here, but in the other one, right, you're gonna get, you know, let's say let answer, let's call it answer, right, equal to title, like that. Let's say you get this name in form of variable. In that case, you're gonna have to use square bracket and call that answer. It's same thing, you know, this answer is what, holding this title, exact same thing. Okay, the reason for square bracket is sometimes you're gonna have this property, right, in form of variable. So in that situation, you must use square bracket. You cannot do here like answer, right? You cannot do that. That will give you error because you will get undefined, because this is not present in, it must be present inside here, that the property, right? You don't have that. Okay, so that is the important part you have to understand. So once you once you understand this, it's good to go, right? So that is all here. We get it. Let's look at the next one. Yeah, so that fine. Let's look at the next one, right? So, you know, when you practice, just pay attention a little bit, and now you have more understanding. So just pay attention. Okay, so to access any data from the object, this is the two different way. And I always focus on the output, right? What will be the result? What I'm getting, string, number, boolean, array, object, whatever you're getting out, right? What is the value here? Focus on that value, because why you're gonna get value, right? Why you are accessing this value? Because you want to do something now. You want to loop through and display. You want to do something. So focus on your data type, data. That's the important, right? Okay, let's look at this quickly. Here will be also almost same, but so now you have the restaurant object, right? The first one has the name of the restaurant, string, location, string, owner, there is owners, right? Two owner, whatever maybe the two name here in the stored in the array. Then established in the number, year, that is year, and the menu, right, stored in the form of array. So now owners in restaurant, right? So you can check if some property like owners so is inside this restaurant object or not, this object, right? So it will give you true or boolean, true or false, right? Owners in restaurant, if there is the property, you will get true. If no employees, let's say there is no employee, right, then you're gonna get false. Okay, so it will return boolean. So in restaurant, in object, okay, in object, property in object, property in object, right, it will return in, will give you boolean. Fine. Some key is a string stored in a variable. So some key, if I say some key, right, same like here, string, that is menu in restaurant, and we have menu right here. So that means some key in restaurant will give you true, right? Because you are just calling this string similar to this one. Okay, now restaurant.menu, yes, it is correct. You're gonna get that. Restaurant.menu, right? It will give you the same answer, that object, whatever object you have there. Restaurant some key, right? Now look at here, some key, because some key is a variable, that's why you have to use square bracket, because it has the value menu, right? So this line of code and this line of code is exactly same thing. Pay attention here. Okay, this is important, right? Because most of the time you're gonna have the property in form of variable. Okay, and in that case, if you want to access the value, you must put in a square bracket. So object square bracket variable, right? And if you do restaurant.some key here, you're gonna get undefined. Why? Anyone tell me why you're gonna get undefined here? Because when you have dot, you make sure this name presents inside here, right? It's not there, some key is not there. Okay, so that's why you're gonna get undefined. And now restaurant.menu, there is a menu, yes, and this will give you array, right? Array dot includes fries. So includes will give you what? You know, in the array we have learned includes will return true or false, right? Boolean. So menu array basically restaurant.menu dot basically includes fries, right? So there is a fries, so it will be true, right? True. So you can see now, right? See the undefined here, that was I was saying. When you have dot, make sure this property is present in the object. Okay, all right guys, so let's keep it up to here, right? I will ask you guys just to practice, just practice, and then tomorrow we're gonna continue with this. Okay, let me stop here.